Fresh off of calling locally here in Los Angeles, the Chargers' Monday night Week 4 victory over the Las Vegas Raiders, and my colleague from the NFL Network and the co-host of the Move the Sticks podcast himself, Daniel Jeremiah, back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How you doing, DJ?
I'm doing good, Rich. Not a lot of sleep with the delayed start last night and a little traffic getting out of there, but it was a fun game. It was a fun night.
Well, I mean, this Chargers team is definitely, just to the eye, the naked eye, just sitting here watching, a totally different team than the one last year. And I'm wondering what you see with your keen all-22 eye, Daniel.
Well, I tell you what, it should be a good lesson for people, when you're hiring a head coach. And sometimes you get hung up on offense or defense. At the end of the day, you want to hire somebody that brings leadership to the table first and foremost, that can establish an identity for your team and your organization. And Brandon Staley happens to also just be a fantastic defensive coach. But that's down the list for me of why that's been such a home run hire. When you see how aggressive that they play and the confidence that he has and then he puts in his guys, to me, it's a game changer. I've seen, I've watched this team, growing up all my life, and I've seen so many games like last night, get away from them. And you kind of get that, oh, no, here we go. And Brandon Staley, I mean, even when it started to go bad during the third quarter, he never took his foot off the gas pedal. And it's a totally different identity here for this group.
Yeah, I had Joey Bosa on the pregame show for Westwood One, and we aired that interview right here on this show yesterday. And when I asked him about, the Chiefs game and what it meant to the team, he mentioned, I didn't even bring up Brandon Staley, he mentioned that everything played out the way that Coach told us. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? And he basically said the coach walked him throughout the week. We're going to get up on them early. They're going to make a run, and we have to expect that and obviously stand our ground and once we expect it to come. And that sounds simple. I mean, that does sound like you could describe many games in the NFL like that, but you could see that Bosa was picking up what the coach was putting down, and the fact that it played out that way only lends to bomb the team together like that. And I found that a fascinating story, DJ.
Yeah, no, it is fascinating. And it just, there's a belief, there's a buy-in, and there's a lot of darn good players. I mean, this roster is really, really talented. I was telling Money as we were kind of getting into the game, as he's calling the game, I said, you know what, normally I look down at the board and I say, okay, man, well, this is, you've got Keenan Allen on this corner. Like that's the matchup in this game. But when I looked at, kind of where the Raiders are defensively, and some of that's with some injuries that they have, but I'm like, man, you've got Jared Cook's a matchup nightmare in the passing game. Eckler's a matchup nightmare. You've got Williams and Keenan. There's a lot of different ways they can go with the football and a lot of favorable matchups. And in a game where Keenan and Mike didn't really have much production, they found a way with just their backs and tight ends to go out there and beat a really, really good Raider team.
Well, I mean, and so now the last 2 weeks together, the Chargers are now 3-1, just like the Raiders and just like the Broncos, a game in front of the Chiefs. But the most important thing for them is that they're 2-0 in division, including one on the road against, you would say, the toughest team in the division, since they're the two-time defending conference champs, not just the division champs. How do you see this whole conference playing out, certainly with the Chiefs and the Bills having at it on Sunday night on NBC? How do you see that?
Yeah, I think it's competitive, Rich, but I mean, when you look at those three teams, right? So if you looked at the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Chargers, look at the ceiling that you have at the quarterback position with those three guys. I mean, you're talking about big, strong, athletic, big-time playmakers, highly intelligent, and they're all just getting better. I mean, that's why you got to be so fired up about the NFL and where it is right now. We've got young star players at those positions, and they're not star players buried on bad teams. They're with good coaches with great talent around them, and that's why, man, it's just I've never felt better about the sport. I mean, I know it's been the best product going for a long time. It's not just an infomercial, but I can't remember a time we've had this many talented young quarterbacks. And this isn't Matthew Stafford, in Detroit, where you're kind of like, man, I don't know, are they ever going to be able to make the playoffs? These guys have great coaches and great talent around them. Man, this is going to be a fun decade.
So throwing it out there, though, you would place your chips where? Because let's just throw the Ravens, who are 3-1 despite going to the running back bargain basement store right at the beginning of the season. And the Browns sitting there at 3-1, and the Browns are the ones coming in to take on the Chargers in SoFi in Week 5. Map it all out for me. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you hit on it, Rich. With those two games this next week are going to be good learning opportunities. When you see the Chiefs and the Bills, and then you see the Browns and the Chargers, I think we're going to learn. I mean, it's going to be like a pretty good litmus test for these four teams. So I know when I look at them on paper, I believe more in the Bills as a complete team. With their defense pitching a couple shutouts versus Kansas City's defense, who's got a lot of holes in it. And then I look at the Browns. Man, the defense is unbelievable. But can the offense keep pace? Can Baker, take his game to the level that these other three quarterbacks in that group can? So looking at it from big picture right now, I would say it's Buffalo and the Chargers as the more complete teams. But man, it's going to be fun to watch those two games this upcoming weekend.
Daniel Jeremiah here on the Rich Eisen Show. Okay, and now you got to throw Sam Darnold back in the mix from that class, right? From that quarterback class. From Dallas that Baker led.
I found my report, Rich. I'd hid it under my bed. It was under lock and key. I dusted it off. It's back up on the shelf.
Okay, so now you got Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, and Sam Darnold's back in that mix right now. How real are the Panthers despite their loss in Dallas? What do you think about that one?
Yeah. I mean, I love Matt Rule, and their defense. When you watched all their earlier games. This team flies around. They're fast. They are explosive. And Sam's playing at a high level. No Christian McCaffrey, so I'll give, the offense a little bit of a pass on the Cowboy game. That's, you're missing your best player. But defensively, I can't unsee what I saw there. As much as I love the Panthers, the Cowboys went right through them. And they did it whatever they wanted. Dak through the air, Zeke on the ground. So, it's I think they're a really good, young, emerging team. I'm not quite so sure they're in that upper echelon just yet.
Daniel Jeremiah here on the Rich Eisen Show. What is happening in Chicago? Can you tell me why Matt Nagy, after Justin Fields not only shows improvement, comes up with his first career win, and also shows that I get sacked 9 times one week. I'm not broken as a quarterback. I'm not broken mentally. I'm not broken spiritually. I'm going to come out and make some flash throws that Bears fans have been waiting to see from the quarterback position, and then the coach comes out and says it's Dalton's job once he's healthy again. Can you walk me through all that, Daniel?
Rich, I would love to. If I understood it, I would do my best to explain it to you. But I don't. And you kind of took the words out of my mouth, because I feel like we've been talking about these young quarterbacks entering the league for a long time together. And I stick to my same tried and true answer, which is if I think they're physically tough enough and mentally tough enough, let's let them get their mistakes out. Let's let them play, and let's let them learn. And let's let them grow. And I don't think there's any question at all about Justin Fields' mental and physical toughness to be able to, work through some of these rough patches. Man, I saw a lot of good when you watched that game the other day. Ran the ball really well, off-play action. They were taking shots down the field, which is what he does really well. I mean, he throws a beautiful deep ball. He can drive it. Haven't even really incorporated his legs all that much. But they went out, they're competitive, and they won a football game, and he played really well. So I don't, for the life of me, understand it. I just don't. I would love to explain it to you, but it makes no sense. And we can look at all these young quarterbacks. I mean, Zach Wilson was really bad in some of those early games this year. But if you're a Jets fan, you're watching that saying, good, let's get these mistakes over with. Right. These are all learning opportunities. He's keeping his head up. I mean, the kid come out last week and played great and made some big-time throws. And there's going to be terrible games littered throughout this season. But you see it going somewhere. Starting Andy Dalton doesn't lead anywhere. It takes you nowhere.
But you've been in, facilities. You've been in meeting rooms. You've been in front offices. You've been all over the place in this league before you're doing what you're doing right here. What could it possibly be? I mean, what could it possibly be? Because everybody's you know how this works in our business, that when things are confusing, you fill the void with all sorts of crazy stuff, like he wants to show that if he's not calling the plays, he's calling the shots. I don't know the guy. He's only come on this show and it's been totally straightforward. He's terrific with the media. And but it just makes no sense to me that, yes, we've gotten him his reps in practice with the ones. He's getting in rhythm. He's won a game, and he's made some great throws. But if Andy Dalton's bone bruise is fine, he's the one who's going against Max Crosby in that defense that was all over Justin Herbert in the Monday Nighter, like in Vegas. Like, is that literally what we're going to see in Vegas next week?
Well, I mean, here are a couple things. Number one, I worked with Matt for a couple of years in Philadelphia, and he's a good guy.
Right.
So, that I can't imagine in a million years it would be because he wanted to show everybody he's got power. What I think there's a couple theories I would have. Number one, you've got coaches who always operate on the short term, and general managers, for the most part, operate with the long term. So a coach can save my job. In order to save my job, I've got to, developing a young quarterback, and maybe he's not. I don't think he's ready, and we're losing games. Maybe that doesn't save my job. So there's some of that short-term thinking there, and it also could be, sometimes you can have an over-belief in your system, right, in the X's and O's, and Andy Dalton, because of his just experience level. Maybe our playbook is, a couple hundred pages bigger with Andy Dalton, which allows me the option to run my entire offense. Whereas with Justin, as with any rookie, it's a little more limiting. But I'll go to my grave saying it's about players, not plays. Give me the best. You go get you the best coach. I'll go get the best players, and I'll take my chances.
So what's your evaluation of the AFC East quarterbacks we saw this weekend? One with a win in Zach Wilson, his first career one, and then one with almost a win in the game that was one of the most watched regular season games and of interest because it was Tom Brady he was trying to match point for point on Sunday night. Let's start with Zach. What'd you think of him with the Jets?
Yeah, it was by far his best performance. I thought it's amazing what happens when you get a little bit of help up front with the offensive line. That was the best they had played up front. So he had a little bit of time, and then even when he didn't have time, he showed you the ability to extend and create. I thought Jamison Crowder being out there helped him. Just having another veteran, he knew where he was going to be. There was no miscommunication. He's just, you saw the deep ball. I mean, he's got rare talent. I mean, the ceiling for this kid is ridiculously high. But again, you're going to live with some of the bumps along the way. But that was a game, as a Jets fan, Rich, I think you can dream on and say, okay, man, imagine once we get this offensive line, hopefully you get Becton back and continue to draft and add guys to that front, and we add more playmakers around him. This guy's got a chance to be really, really good. I thought after the game, I don't know if you saw it, but his post game, one of the first things he said was, hey, look, I should have ended this thing in regulation. I got to be better. I had an opportunity there to get that done, and I didn't do it. So he understands that he's got a lot of room and space to grow. But I thought that was the way I would put it. It's a game you can dream on when you see some of the things that kid can do.
And what about Mac Jones? It seems like he is the perfect vessel for what the Patriots want to do with the short passing game that we saw for all those years with Tom Brady. What do you make of Mac Jones's first month in the NFL?
Yeah, he's kind of been as advertised, right? He's been a really good decision maker. He's been very accurate. But Rich, you can't. It's such a tightrope that they're walking with the way they're playing. When you don't have any explosives, when you only throw the ball over 15 yards once and it gets picked off, you can set all the completion records you want. But they don't put completion numbers up on the scoreboard. They put points up there. So they have got to find a way to be more explosive. And I don't know if they have that personnel on their roster right now. But if you are in a situation where you can't run the ball and you can't push the ball vertically down the field, it's just your defense is going to have to play like they did the other night and just play lights out. And you're going to find yourself winning a bunch of 13-10 type games. I just don't know if that's, I talk about Zach Wilson and I can dream on where they can go. Now they aren't as efficient as the Patriots, but they have the upside to be really good eventually. I don't know that this Patriots offense, the way it's set up, with the way they're playing, if they have the upside to be really good. I don't see it. There's no explosive plays, and you got to have them. You can't win games if you can't get explosive plays.
So, what's the answer? Is it N'Keal Harry now that he's back off the IR? Nelson Aguilar can take the top of the defense off, take your shots, because the deep balls were mostly thrown on Sunday night off the trick plays. That's what you saw in that game. Yeah,
you're trying to manufacture. It's just a tough way to live. To me, it's two things. Number one, they've got to get faster. They don't have a real fast team.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got to do something in the offseason. Now, look at Mac, what he did at Alabama. They were able to get plenty of deep shots and vertical shots. You can do that when you've got Waddle and Devontae Smith out there. So they've got to give him some speed next year. And the other thing is you get deep shots in the NFL, when you have some threat of a run game. And you can pull those safeties and scare those safeties down a little bit when you can't run the ball a lick. you don't get that luxury. So those are the two things they're going to have to get better at. So that was my thing. I think from a baseball analogy, that would be Zach would be kind of the 4 for 5 with 4 singles. And then you go, okay, that's fantastic. But then Zach Wilson can go 1 for 5 with a 3-run home run. And then you can have the debate of who impacted the game more.
Last one for you, Daniel Jeremiah. I guess in between quarters 1 and 2 of this coming weekend, week 5 of this now 17-game regular season will be the actual real quarter post mark. Normally it's right now, where after 4 games are in the books.
It's so weird.
I know, but we in the media, we're kind of confused. It's kind of the way I opened the show in a way. We're kind of confused as to when this quarter post is. I think we've hit it. So if we already have, the fact that the Cardinals are 4-0 and the last remaining undefeated team in the league, are they the best team in the league? You mentioned speed earlier, about the importance of speed and the importance of putting up points and splash plays. My gosh, do they have that big time? The Cowboys kind of do too, man. I mean, they've got some kids flashing on that defense in the front and the back end. What do you make of the best team in the league right now at this point, Daniel?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, the Cardinals are undefeated and they've got some quality wins. I think, to me, the thing about them that stands out the most is that, Tennessee coming into the season, we would have said, one of the 3 most physical teams in the NFL. The Cardinals went in there and beat them up. The Rams, are a really, really good team with the, returning with the best defense in the NFL, and they beat them up. I didn't have that on my card, that you'd have the Cardinals coming out and being this physical team. So, yeah, I mean, they're undefeated. They've got quality wins, and they've won at the line of scrimmage. I think if you're going to say right now, take a snapshot of it, you have to say they're the best team. But I know one thing: the demo field participant I've seen in the National Football League this year is the guy I'm talking to on the phone right now.
Dude, those demos, I go out there and they're like, all right, you're the guard and you walk down the field, or you're the linebackers, you creep up, and I'm like, all right, and then I take 2 steps, and then I take 2 steps back, and all I can just be is who I am, and I just know one speed, Daniel, as you know, that's all I can do.
It frustrated me because I didn't realize that you were available. I thought you might have been on the injured list or something, because I did one demo earlier this year, and I was given the instructions, and you were not labeled as a participant in the demo. So I was a little baffled that that the health situation wasn't where it needed to be in my demo, but then I turn it on the next week, and I've got you playing multiple positions. I mean, not only a participant, but somebody that's being used like a Derwin James type role, where you're down in the box one play and you're playing high on the next. I mean, I don't get it. You know what,
Daniel? I'm just trying to do my job. Be that Swiss Army knife that I can be, not only as a host of a show, but on the demo field. But so next time, are you going to be coming in this time? Because well, actually, this week we're off.
2 weeks.
We're off this week. 2 weeks. Okay. All right, so
I'll be back. I'll be back in there. So I want to see this for myself. Sometimes they say it's important to do scouting in person. So,
right.
I need to see that for myself. Last thing before I go, Rich.
Yes, DJ.
I always tell you where I do these interviews.
Yes, sir.
Today.
Where are you?
I am at a triple threat. It is a gas station that also has a car wash that also has a little Mexican restaurant shop right inside of it. It's a threefer.
Wait a minute. Is the Mexican restaurant is not in the car wash, is it?
No, it's inside the gas station.
Okay.
Which also has a car. You can literally pump some gas, go order your rolled tacos, then get it back in your car, go through the car wash, pick up your rolled tacos, and off you go. It's a 3-for-1.
Interesting.
Incredible.
We need a video.
And if you wait long enough, you might be able to go through the ask for the bathroom key as well. I'm assuming you can do all 4 of those things potentially. God bless.
Yeah.
So it could be a quadruple threat.
The bathroom I'm not going to visit, but I'll take your word for it.
Well done, Daniel. Well, obviously, as always, take a photograph and we'll post it on our Twitter feed. Please do.
Got you.
Take care. Thanks, DJ. Daniel Jeremiah at Move the Sticks right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.